Okay, Dirol, I haven't prepared for myself any specific presentation, and I don't have any specific script. So I will try to use this opportunity to address especially three different things. First of all, obviously, I'm going to present also some basic numbers about my university, my faculty, and my department. Then I will try to address the last point of Emily's speech and the fact that impact of our research, at least in Slovakia, hasn't been recognized systematically, hasn't been recognized because usually the university was very much interested in scientific outputs, but not really in a practical impact or practical influence. And then obviously I will tell you something also about my personal research, personal intention, and so on. So the university where I am affiliated is the Comenius University in Slovakia. It is considered the largest and also the oldest university in Slovakia, although or despite the fact that in the Middle Ages there were also some other attempts, but the Comenius University itself was established 1990. It means that 100 years later. Yours was 1817 and ours was, right? Yeah, it was written there. So 1919. There were three founding faculties: Faculty of Medicine, Faculty of Law, and the Faculty of Arts. And nowadays it has like 13 different faculties where approximately 23,000 students are studying per year. What is also quite interesting is the fact that the university is the strongest university institution in Slovakia. So it is really considered like a flagship university in the country. It is located, as it is obviously from its seat in the capital. And I have to say that many of my colleagues have been invited for years in different policy roundtables and so on. But as I already mentioned, this work, it wasn't simply recognized as something important. So they did it more or less privately. Some of them established, for instance, different think tanks. So they were at the same time members of the faculties or research centers at the university, and at the same time also members of, let's say, semi-private or private think tanks. But whenever they were invited, for instance, to the media and they presented something from the research, it was like losing our opportunity to show how important our research was, because actually they were presenting the research staff as the members of think tanks, not as the university members. Yeah, so this was understood quite later. I will tell this, but still I have to say that right now I work for the Faculty of Arts, where approximately 3,000 students are affiliated and approximately 30 different departments, including my department, which is Department of Political Science, Department of Psychology, also some linguistic departments, and so on. So back to the issue I started already. This recognition was changed, especially after the pandemic period, I have to say, quite openly. I mean, Slovakia experienced very specific and turbulent period. In the first wave, it was considered the champion of the world. Like there was almost no impact on society. Like Slovaks were celebrating, and we believe that our government is probably the best. Yeah, I mean there were people who are really suffering in the world, but Slovakia wasn't affected at all. However, in the second wave, Slovakia became the worst in the world, and it was quite clear that politicians influenced in that time the behavior of society significantly. I mean, it was a kind of national tragedy that after the failure of the government at different levels, actually the scientists were blamed. They were blamed for many mistakes, not the politicians who actually took the decisions like easing measures and everything, but the scientists. They didn't warn us, they didn't tell us, but it wasn't true. It was just, I mean, the nice example of blame avoidance. I mean, from this perspective, I have to say that there was a discussion. Like, there should be some respect to the people who are conducting really serious research, and they are not going to be blamed on social media by anybody, like just because they don't know how to translate their research outcomes for, let's say, ordinary people, because actually nobody trained them. There was no like a systematic training or systematic preparation for those people how to translate sometimes quite difficult and sometimes quite complicated research outputs into, let's say, ordinary language. And that was the point, because during the pandemic era, it was so visible. I mean, there were many advices which were coming from the research area, but some of them were simply either too complicated for ordinary people to understand, or they were considered like not possible for, or they were considered too complicated for adoption in Slovakia. And I have to say, and I'm happy to say that especially in the recent years, there was a shift from the state and also from the universities in this field, and the impacts or the research impacts have been recognized as important output of every researcher in Slovakia. So nowadays, when there is a ranking of Slovak researchers, not only scientific outputs are taken into consideration, but also their impacts. Obviously, and this should be discussed also in the future, in some fields, research fields, it's more complicated to show what's the real impact. Plus, you can imagine if you have a patent, like you are from the technical university and you have a technical patent, it's much more easier than to show some societal impact. But still, it is possible. And this is a challenge, and I hope that also our research, thanks to Brendan's initiative, thanks to Emily's contributions, and thanks to, I hope, growing network from other universities, will open. And we will discuss it really openly and clearly, that there might be some diversity in our approaches, there might be some diversity in our research, but impact on society, or even further impact, is important, especially if you would like to evaluate the work of ourselves, of our colleagues. It is not only about the scientific publications, it is also about how how are we able to translate our research which usually include really quite important added value for society, into ordinary work. Last but not least, I would like to address a little bit my work. So my background is public administration and also public policy. And I have to say that at the beginning I was quite fascinated by Max Weber and all those old-fashioned guys. But whenever I started to talk to my parents, for instance, I started to speak about hierarchy and vertical structure and so on, my mother stopped me and, this is too complicated for me. Fortunately, I managed to have a research stay in Germany in the beginning of millennia, and I fell in love in something what Germans used to call Kommunalpolitik, so local government studies. And then I found a field which was so close to people, so close even for me as a researcher. It was something I really can deal with quite closely. It wasn't so far, like, for instance, Kashmir problem between Iran and India or whatever. So I really could touch this problem, could conduct my surveys and so on. And I became one of the most recognized experts in local government in Slovakia. In the meantime, I served as advisor to 2 prime ministers in Slovakia. Nowadays, I'm quite busy with proposal of reform of public administration in Slovakia. And when Emily mentioned that there are sensitive issues like reproductive health, and I fully agree. But I can tell you that one of the most sensitive issues in Slovakia is to stand in front of the mayors, almost 30,000 mayors, and told them about amalgamation reform and necessity to merge the municipalities. I felt a little bit like in the hell. But well, we have to open this discussion because just for you, the average size of municipality in Slovakia is less than 1,900, and medium size is less than 660. So you can imagine that Slovakia is very, very fragmented country, and especially if you would like to deliver the services, the standard services on the whole territory of the country, you can see that there are shortcomings. I mean, in a municipality where 2 employees or even 1 employee, you cannot expect the same services like in the large cities. But they are taxpayers. They are the citizens of the country. So they are not the second-order citizens of your country, so they deserve the same services, at least some standard. And this is something what also our government has to understand. So let's see. Besides this, I dealt, and I already mentioned this during our meeting in Slovakia, also with inclusion general in policymaking, and also inclusion of marginalized Roma communities, which are, let's say, segregated still in many areas in Slovakia, and the quality of life is really poor. I mean, it is nothing like the 21st century, and they are members of the European Union, but because of segregation, because of long-term discrimination, the quality of lives of those people is really quite poor. So from this perspective, I'm trying to provide systematic advice also to individual local governments, but also to national authorities, like, for instance, offices of government commissioners for civil society development and for marginalized Roma communities, also for the government office. But let's see, because this political life is quite volatile or turbulent, I would say. And for instance, I would have personal problem to give advice to the present prime minister, quite openly. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, but we are members of the European Union, and we hope that the standards which are accepted by all the European countries will be adopted again back in Slovakia. I'm not speaking about other countries. Okay, thank you very much for your attention, and obviously I'm looking forward to take part in the panel, and now I'm looking forward to listen to your presentations.